Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Money Minded here on Soul Sisters 10X platform. I am Sharon Hawkins. I'm glad to be back. Today is April the 24th, 2024. Been gone for a couple weeks on vacation, but it's good to be back. Hopefully, everybody's been doing some financial digesting into your finances and making some goals and going over things to help better help better your finances and to continue to help being money minded. So we've been talking about your credit score, and last time we met, we talked about what the score is and how it's calculated, what things that they look at. So tonight I want to continue talking about your credit score and how to build credit and how to improve that credit score. Okay, so we're going to get right into it. So again, to um, build your credit score, to improve your credit score, you have to know what your credit score is. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is digest into it, and there's three major platforms that are used to diagnose or to note what your credit score is. Most banks or any kind of line of credit or anything that you want to do, they're going to look into they usually look at two out of the three. Between the three, your score varies maybe a point or two depending on how they average your credit score. But the three are Equifax, Expedient, and TransUnion. So those are the three companies, if you want to call it that, that that determine your credit score, that calculate your credit score. Okay, so in order to build it, you need to know where you are. Okay, so that's the first thing that you need to do. So you want to do your research, and I would look at all three of them to see where you are, see what your credit score is, because you can't build it and you can't improve it if you don't know where you stand. Okay, so take a look at all three of those and see where you stand. Again, I use Credit Karma. A lot of times, if you have a credit card, they now give you free FICO, the FICO score, maybe on your statement or whatnot. I would be a little careful with those because sometimes those aren't always accurate on your credit card statement. Okay, you can maybe your bank will offer it, but a lot of places offer you your credit score. There's a lot of apps out there now these days, and I'm quite sure there's going to be more with AI, that it's going to be easy to access what your credit score is. So once you find out what it is, then you can start to build on it. Okay, so once you find if your score is low, you want to be able to increase it. If your score is high, you want to be able to maintain it. Okay, so how do you build your credit score? First, like I said, you got to know where you stand. If you have a low credit score, I'm going to give you some options that you can do to help to build your credit score. One of them is called an authorized user. And what that is in a lot of this, it can happen a lot of time with young people. Okay. So for an example, we'll say you have a child going to college or whatnot, and the parent might give them a credit card to use at school, and it may have a $500 or $1,000, and the credit card is actually in the parent's name, but they're an authorized user on the card. Okay, so as long as whoever that card is on is responsible for, and their name is on, whoever it is, and they're paying their bill, they're paying it on time, they're not getting any late fees or whatnot, this could help boost your credit score. So a lot of times you'll find it in a lot of different communities. Like I said, a lot of times it happens with parents use it for their college student. Okay, and this will help you to do it. Now, if you're an authorized user on somebody's card, and the bill is not getting paid, or it's being paid late, or those type of things on it, it's not going to help build your credit. Okay. Now I know I said it myself. I'm skeptical too. Do I really want to give my kid a credit card at that age and just let him go? Sky's the limit. So you got to be careful. But this is an option to help build the credit. If you have a child or a spouse, even whomever, and you know that they're not a good paymaster or whatnot, probably wouldn't do it. But this is a way to build credit because it does show. Remember, credit cards can be bad, but they also can be good if they're used correctly. Okay, so that's one way of trying to build your credit. Second way, which I've already spoken about before, is using a secured credit card. Okay, so typically they do about a $200 deposit. Any bank you want to go get a secured credit card and you give the bank $200. Okay, so say you get your phone bill and your cell phone bill is $50. You use that card to pay on that bill, okay, and it starts showing payment history when you use a secure credit card. And it also is they don't let you go over that limit of whatever else that you paid into it. So it's actually your own money, but you're establishing some payment history using that secure credit card. And this is another way that can help build your credit. I know a lot of people are skeptical about that, actually more so than having an authorized user on your card. But a secure, praise the Lord, Sister Carter, and hello, soul sisters. Using a secure credit card isn't a bad thing. It's just helping you to establish and to build that credit. Okay. It's let's see here, determines your credit limit. The advance to a secure credit card is that the account activities is reported to all three of the major credit bureaus, which helps them build a history. Like I was saying, it helps build a history of what your credit payment, what your history is, how you're paying things off, if you're paying them on time, and things of that nature. Okay. Another way of building your credit is your utilization ratio. And I've talked about this before. When you have a line of credit, okay, if you have a credit card or whatnot, you only want to spend 30% or less of whatever you're allowed to spend. Okay, because what this shows is that you're not a compulsive spender. You have some wiggle room. You have a lot. You don't owe a lot compared to what you are able to charge. I think I used an example. If I had credit cards and they were $10,000, I had $10,000 limit on. If I had 5 credit cards and all together, I could charge up to $10,000. But my utilization is 30%, which would be $3,000. So if I'm $3,000, if I charge $3,000 or less, this will help build my credit score because I'm keeping that credit utilization ratio down. So we definitely want to pay attention to that. Okay. And the next one is suggests here, it says the bottom line, without a credit history, you might find it difficult to get credit. Okay. So it again, no bad credit is better than no credit. So it's best to try to build up your credit. Okay. It's best to get something. I think I have spoken in the past about Capital One being a pretty easy credit card to get. Okay. If you have a bank account with a credit union, you want to establish good credit with that credit union. They may deny you at first, but if you're using your accounts and they're seeing your history, it's the same thing. So it'll be a little bit easier to build up your credit. A lot of it happens too. Another good way to help build the credit is automatic payments. Okay. For an example, my cell phone, I have my cell phone is one of them that I have automatically. It comes out of my checking account the 11th of every month. My car insurance, it comes out of my account at the 3rd of every month. So this shows a payment history, my habits, it's showing my spending habits. I'll give you another example. When you go on, if you're searching the web or something like that, if you're looking at something, if you're an Amazon shopper and you want to buy, let's say, a wall mirror or something like that, all of a sudden, you've been on Amazon and you're looking and searching to see if you see this mirror. All of a sudden, if you go on Facebook, you start seeing all these ads for the mirrors now. surf the web for it. Okay. It's the same thing with your credit. They know your habits. If you go to Dunkin' Donuts every morning and you're spending $5 every morning, they know that's that habit. So it's the same thing with your credit. You want to establish that habit to be able to build your credit, because you have to build it up. Okay. Now, Rome wasn't, praise the Lord, Sister Larissa, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither will your credit be built in a day. So you have to be patient. All right. You have to be patient when you're trying to build up your credit. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to say, okay, in the month of May, I'm going to pay a little extra. I'm going to pay all my bills on time. I'm not going to get any late fees. That's great. But 30 days isn't going to do it. They need to see a pattern. 30, 60, 90. So don't get discouraged when you don't see your score go up immediately, but realize what you are doing is you are building up your credit. You are building, you're showing them a pattern. You're showing a payment history of things that you do, of your spending habits. Okay. You're showing them, per se, we can say it that way, that you're being a little bit more responsible with your finances by having those habits. Okay. So that's another way of building your credit, having things automatically taken out of your bank account the same time, the same date, every single month. Now, be careful when you do that. Make sure that you're a good bookkeeper and you keep that in mind so you don't cause overdraft in your bank accounts. All right, because that can happen too. Oh, shoot, I forgot. So there's all sorts of things you could do. There's a reminder. I have a scrolling calendar on my phone. So every month, I put all those things that come out on the same day every month. It automatically goes for the next 12 months. You can do it on your email calendar or whatever, whatever the case, the Outlook calendar. That's what I want to say. And you could do it reoccurring. You could do the same thing on your phone and whatnot, and you could put it up as a reminder and say, oh, okay, today I know that my car payment money is coming out of my account. I know that my whatever, your cable bill or your gym membership, your car payment, whatever it may be, automatics are coming out. So you want to make sure that you keep track of that. And that goes way back to the beginning where we're trying to be more money minded. We're trying to save money, building goals. This is what you want to do. Make sure you keep it in mind. Okay. So that's how we're going to build credit. Now, if you have a credit score, whatever, and you want to improve your credit score, there's things that you want to do. Again, first thing you want to do is find out where you are. Okay. Review your credit report. Take the time and go through it. Sometimes there's going to be things on there that shouldn't be. There might be a medical bill, something that's over 10 years ago, something that you paid off maybe to a second party, and it was never it was never reported to the 3 credit bureaus. Okay, so you want to go through it with time, a fine-tooth comb. This might take you an hour, 2 hours, maybe even 3 hours, but it's depending on what your spending habits are. But it's worth it. It is definitely worth it to take the time to go through your credit scores and make sure what's real and what should come off. Okay, I'm going to compare it to kind of a little scenario here, but even criminals get a break after a certain amount of time. If they did if they did the crime, they do the time after a certain amount of time. That may come off of their what do they call that? I forget what they call it. Oh, their record. It will come off your record. Okay, so and sometimes if a minor does something and makes a mistake, they said the records are sealed. Okay, or it may be on there when they turn 18, it disappears. Okay, you can think of it the same way as your credit score. You want to make sure that everything that's on there is legit. Anything that you paid off is no longer there. Nothing lingering. No old medical bills. Like I said, these things come back to haunt us. I remember teaching my son and going through things like this with him. And I use another story. He had got a traffic ticket and ignored it. and ignored it for years. And then all of a sudden he got pulled over again. And oh, well, there was a warrant for his arrest per se, because he never took care of the ticket. So it wasn't really a warrant for his arrest. Obviously, it's an appearance ticket, and they want to either suspend your license, or I forget what happened. It was so long ago. But it's, again, one of those things that we put our blinders on and we ignore and think it's going to go away. It's not going to go away for years, okay? So when you're looking to build your credit, to improve your credit score, you want to make sure that everything that's on those three reports are legit, okay? The second thing you want to do is get a handle on your bills. Get a handle on paying your bills. Again, we talked about getting rid of things that you don't use and that you don't do and whatnot, but get a handle on it, all right? I think I also talked about being a compulsive spender. That's where the goals come in. When you made your list and whatnot of how much money you want to spend, this is why I say pay yourself. Make sure you have savings. It's okay to treat yourself once in a while, but you want to get a handle on it. The less bills you have, the more that you have to play with, and the more that you can save. Okay, so you want to get a handle on paying your bills. Don't let them get out of control. And remember the 5 components for your credit score, okay? It's 35% is your payment history, 30% is your usage of your credit, 15% is how long you've had the accounts, and 10% is your credit mix, and the other 10% is your inquiries, meaning how many times somebody's running your credit, your social security number, so you can get more credit, your line of credit. Okay, so let's make sure you keep those things in mind and get a handle on it, because your payment history is 35%. That is the biggest chunk of your credit score. So if you're trying to improve your credit score, you got to pay your bills, y'all. You cannot ignore them. I too myself, back in the day, robbed Peter to pay Paul. Oh, if I pay a little bit here, I'm okay. If I pay a little bit there, I'm okay. Yeah, you might be when you pay the minimum on it, but did you pay it on time? Okay, and that's great. It's helping your history, but it depends on time. And then what's happening if you don't pay it on time, or if you're right at your max and you get interest charged on it? That's something else we could talk about too, and that does happen. If you have $1,000 credit limit, okay, and you max that credit score out, that credit card out to $1,000, and your minimum payment is $40, okay, and you gave them $40, so you think now you have $960 on that credit card. If your interest rate is 25 to 30%, you don't have $40 left to charge on that. And if you do that in 2 consecutive months, you're actually going to be over your limit. And sometimes some banks charge you for going over your limit. There's I remember when the bank started doing this too, they would give you, like, they would call it a line of credit, extra fee. I remember some employees were so excited about that. And oh, well, if I don't have enough money in my bank account, I can go ahead and use my card, my debit card, and they'll give me a $500 line of credit. Yeah, that's great. But what they're telling you is for every transaction, they're charging you a $35 fee on top of that, because you're over your limit, meaning you don't have any money in your bank account, and we're letting that you borrow that, but now you're going to owe us some more money. And these are how the bank institutions make their money. Okay, so you got to be very careful. That I remember an employee did that, and my goodness, I think it was like $1 or so over, and it wound up costing him about $50 for $1 and some change, because he went over. So you got to be very careful. Is it worth it? Could you have waited a day or two? Something to think about. All right. So again, we're talking about how to improve your credit score. So make sure, I can't stress it enough, you gotta pay your bills on time. Please pay them on time. Okay. Again, Stay it's inside of that 30% of usage. All right. So what we're doing here to improve your credit score, all this article that I'm going over is going over those 5 components that make up your credit score, and you're staying within those guidelines. If you stay within those guidelines, boom, you will be fine. I have a credit. I think I talked about it before. I have a credit card that has a $75 annual fee. Matter of fact, I just got the bill in the mail. Okay. So I'm going to call them probably when I get off the phone, and I'm going to say I want to, cancel my credit card. Well, why is that, Miss Hawkins? I don't want to pay, annual free. The card has a zero balance. I don't use it. There's no need for me to pay the $75 on a card I don't use. Miss Hawkins, we appreciate your service and whatnot. We don't want to lose you as a customer, so we're going to waive that fee for you. I've been doing it for the last, I can't tell you, 5-6 years with the same credit card, and they won't cancel it on it. They won't cancel it. I don't use it. And why do I keep it? And don't say, no, that's okay. Go ahead and cancel it. It's because it's helping my line of credit. Okay. Even though I don't use it, it helps increase it, and it keeps that 30% usage down. All right. So, half a dozen on one side, half a dozen on the other. I'm not going to pay you $75, and I know I'm not going to use it. So they would be earning $75 on me, from me every year. Okay. A lot of people don't realize that if you are a good customer and you're good standing with them, you can negotiate things with them, and they will do it for you. All right. I have I'll tell you another one. I got Sirius XM. I don't know if anybody has Sirius XM in their car all the time. They actually, I think they got smart now and just got up to realizing what I was doing every year. So this year I got an email, and they were just telling me what the yearly special was, and told me what the yearly, excuse me, what my yearly charge was going to be. And they don't want to lose you as a customer. Now, Sirius XM was charging, I don't know, $20 a month, and I call and say, no, cancel it. I'm not at the time. I'm not even in my car that long. Why am I going to pay $20 a month? Nope, that's good. Well, Miss Hawkins, we got a deal going on for the next 12 months. It's $4.99 a month for the next 12 months. Oh, okay. All right, that's fine. I can do that. So I was doing that every year, and like I said, now I think I don't think I know, because they sent me the email and telling me what this year's special was, and I'm like, okay, and I still get it for $60-$70 a year for Sirius XM, when it was, where they want to charge me $20-$25. All right. So don't be afraid to call these places and negotiate with them, because at the end of the day, especially if you have good credit, at the end of the day, they don't want you lose your business, even when you don't use them. And I tell you, the card's got dust on it. Probably don't even know where the card is. That's how long it's been since I used it. But I'm not going to just give you $75 to be giving you $75 every year. Thank God I'm money minded, and I'm in that place now. So anyway, back to helping to improve your credit. So you want to continue to just look at ways and look at these areas to keep it going, to keep your credit score up. So get a handle on paying your bills. Stay under the 30% usage. Limit your requests for new credit. Okay. Listen, that's another thing. I don't know about anybody on here, but can attest to this. At least 2 to 3 times a week, I'm getting a new credit card offer in the mail every week. They want you to do a credit card, or they want you to get a personal loan, or they're just offering you credit. Okay. Don't do it. The more you run your credit card, or your social security number, the more they run it, even though it's not a lot of points, it's still points, and it lowers your credit score. Okay. So that's called inquiries. Every time they inquire how good your score is, they're going to do it. So try to limit that. Try not to go out and just be getting credit to be getting credit, because that's going to slow down the pace of you improving your score. So keep it to a minimum. Okay, make sure you stay within range. You want to stay below. All right. Most of the next one says make the most of a thin credit file. 3 to 6 months to begin to see results. So again, like I said earlier, when you're trying to build, it's the same thing when you're trying to improve it. 3 to 6 months is what the Bureau says that it takes to build or improve your credit score. Rome wasn't built in a day. It's going to take you a little time, but you need to do your homework and establish it and make sure you're working on it each and every month. Be consistent. The same way you go to work every day and you want that check in a week or two should be the same way that you feel about your finances and your credit score. Okay. And number 6 says to keep old accounts open. Okay, and that's why I just gave you that example of that credit card. I've had that credit card for years. I don't use it, but I keep it open because that helps my line of credit and it helps to continue to maintain a high credit score. So you want to make sure that you keep it there. Okay, don't go closing it just to be closing it. Make sure you use a credit monitoring or tracker program. Again, Credit Karma, your bank account. Quite sure there's more apps out there that you can always check. With Credit Karma, for me, I know my score updates every week because I've been establishing it over time and over years. Okay, I'm not sure what other companies out there do or how often it goes up, but what things are reported to the credit bureau. All right, so you want to make sure you're with reliable sources that do report things to the credit bureau. All right, since I said that too, if you get something in the mail, this is your last opportunity. Research, come to give us a call or whatnot. Make sure you do it, because if you don't, they have no problem reporting it to the credit bureau, and it's going to hurt your credit score. Okay, financial counseling. Okay, making consolidation. These are things that can help and build your credit. They aren't all bad. There are some good ones. Sometimes if you have bad credit or no credit, sometimes taking a step back and consolidating or making a deal can help improve your credit. Years ago, when bankruptcy used to be easy to do, because it's not as easy as it did anymore, that people have ruined that. People were filing bankruptcy just to file bankruptcy and were able to go and get a credit card and stuff and wipe that debt out. And it would take them about 6 months be reestablished and have a great credit score. Well, we finally got smart and stopped allowing people to do that. Okay, so filing bankruptcy isn't as easy as it was, but there's also all sorts of credit counseling, even with your bank, even with a medical bill, something that you're behind on, an old gas and electric bill, a repossessed car. Things like this, they're not going to go away. They're going to stay on your credit report. So when they call, I know, don't answer the phone. Oh, that's 1-800 number. I'm not answering the phone. You got to deal with them, but it's not going to disappear. The best thing to do is to deal with them. A lot of them will make a deal with you. It's called settlements. They'll make a settlement and say you owe somebody $5,000. They may settle with you, go into a credit counseling, say, all right, well, if you could pay $2,500, we'll call it even. Listen, they'd rather get $2,500 out of you instead of getting nothing at all. Okay? So again, it might set you back a little bit, but it's going to help you in the long run, because again, it's going to show your credit history, and then that item will be able to be closed, or if that payments will be sent to the credit bureau, showing your payment history and showing that the bill was paid off. Okay. I've known people who gotten cars repossessed and they sold them. Okay. So what happens if you get a car repossessed and they sold it? If they sell it for what's less than what you owe, say you owe $20,000 on the car and they repossessed it and they turned around and sold it for 10, they're still looking for that other 10 from you because it's a loss. So now they're going to go after you. They're going to garnish your check. They're going to report it to the credit bureau, which now you got a repo and a garnish on your credit score. The best thing to do is try to make a deal with them. Try not to even get to that point. Sometimes if you're behind a month or two on a car payment, even your mortgage, whatever case might be, if you call them, sometimes what they could do is affirm it. They could put those payments on the end of your loan. So say you got a 5-year car loan, okay, and you're going through a hardship. A lot of times, if you can prove that hardship to them, they'll take those 3 payments and put at the end of those 5 years. So if you're going to be done in April, instead you're going to be done in June or July. Okay, that's better than, and then they won't report that to the credit bureau. That's better than getting the car repossessed or having a whole bunch of late fees and things on it. Okay, I have never heard of anybody doing any extra fees or charging you for anything like that, doing things like that, but I do know that they can do that for you. Again, they would rather get a little bit of money than nothing at all. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. How to build your credit, how to improve your credit score. But the most important thing is you got to pay attention to it. You got to look at it. You got to have, you change your mindset. You got to stop being an impulse spender. Goals, pay yourself. Okay, set up some, establish some goals and things that you want to do and what your goals are and stick to them. Most importantly, I'm going to end with, if you give to the Lord his 10%, he will open up a windows of heaven, pour you out a blessing. You will have room to receive. I hope this was helpful. I was just trying to piggyback off from where I was the last time. And now we will move forward next week from credit score. God bless you. You all have a great evening. And Lord willing, I'll be back with you again next Friday night. Have a blessed night.